if you violate child labor laws, we will take your incentives from you. And I think that is extremely common sense. I think if you exploit and abuse children in our state, we should not be giving you our tax dollars.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Welcome back to Alabama Politics. This week, I'm Dale Jackson. With me, as always, Mecca Musick. And our guest this week is Jacob Morrison, host of the Tennessee Valley Labor Report. We appreciate him being here. Jacob, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. We'll talk about the election and things like that first. But Donald Trump and Joe Biden both said, I don't like this steel deal with the Japanese steel maker. There are Alabama implications to this. A little protectionism. Donald Trump's leaving the free market long time ago. He's not a free market Republican from the past. He's more of a fair market guy. Will they stop the deal?
I think they have to. I've seen some news saying that Nippon is trying to close the deal by the end of December, and I just don't see how it goes through with Biden's, with Biden's previous opposition to the bill.
And Harris was against it.
Harris was against it. All of the Democrats in Pennsylvania have been against it and continue to be against it. Interestingly, the local unions in Pennsylvania in the Mon Valley support it because they say that Nippon would
be a better steward
potentially, and actually go for and actually make some investments. And so the local unions, even though the international union, the United Steelworkers at the national level, oppose the deal, the local union supports it and says if you oppose the deal, you need to put forward a plan to invest in these facilities, which nobody else is doing.
Let me ask a quick question here before we get to Mecca here. The situation might be that Joe Biden's a liar. And maybe he doesn't actually oppose it because, he's a liar.
That wasn't a question.
That is a question.
That wasn't even a question.
No, it is. Here's a question. So is Joe Biden going to lie about this and let it go through?
Joe Biden is obviously a liar, as are all other politicians, but I would be shocked if he was lying about his opposition to this deal, and I would be surprised if it goes through, and I would be frustrated.
Jacob, you talked about this deal having Alabama implications. What does that involve?
There are just some facilities that U.S. Steel still owns in Alabama, and so potentially, you would obviously see those facilities change ownership to Nippon instead of U.S. Steel, and so there are workers in Alabama that would be affected by the new ownership.
It's just like, who's in favor of this? Like, it's hard to find a politician who's in favor of it, and there's an issue here with national security issues and all these other things involved as well. Not that I think those are the main things driving this opposition. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Last time we had you on, we talked a little Donald Trump in unions. We've talked about it on the radio a little bit, but let's talk about this real quick. Donald Trump did better than most Republicans have done with unions. Still not by any stretch of the means winning union workers, but blue-collar workers, yes. Union workers, no. What do you think the difference is between a blue-collar worker and a blue-collar union worker?
Well, a blue-collar union member is, somebody that is a member of a union. I mean, being a member of a union really can be something that changes somebody's life in a really significant way. And when you're a union member, you're going to be exposed to a lot of the things that Joe Biden and the Democrats have done for union members over these last 4 years. The significant infrastructure investments in the United States. I mean, hundreds of thousands of jobs.
Lots of union jobs created.
Lots of union jobs, project labor agreements, things like that. The pensions alone, I mean, hundreds of thousands of union workers have had their pensions saved by the Biden administration. And so while Trump has done better with union members than other Republicans, unlike every other demographic in the country, Trump did not gain on his previous union support. And I think that's interesting. And the question for Democrats now is, I think, how can you basically create more union members? Because that's how FDR and the New Deal cemented a working class supermajority for the Democrats during that era. And it's going to take something like that. We've seen, working class voters kind of ping pong basically from Republican to Democrat basically for the last 20 or 30 years, waiting for a party to address their needs. And so far, none of them have done it yet.
So let's talk about that. Earlier, Dale and I were talking about the Democratic agenda in the Alabama legislature, some of the bills that are coming forward. Are these the kind of things that you think will make headway with union voters?
The things that you mentioned, no. I think you said that they're very common sense things. I think they make sense, and I think union voters would support it. I don't think that it's going to change the way that union voters vote in elections. I think something that is on the docket that union voters and working class people in Alabama will be supportive of is a bill that deals with child labor. And so this one, like last year's SB 231, which said, Alabama said to companies, if you voluntarily recognize a union, we'll take your incentives from you. This one that's been pre-filed by the Democrats says, if you violate child labor laws, we will take your incentives from you. And I think that is extremely common sense. I think if you exploit and abuse children in our state, we should not be giving you our tax dollars. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
Here's a question I have about the child labor stuff. A lot of the stuff that we saw were illegal labor being used and child labor, which was illegal. And sometimes the argument was being made they didn't know that now they were hiring illegals through the hiring companies and things.
Yeah,
like
they were lying. There's
right,
liars.
6 degrees of separation or whatever you want to call it. I agree with that.
Right.
And then they'd find these people that were like, well, we didn't know about this, so we had nothing to do with this. And they gave them the plausible deniability. How do you handle that?
Well, I think that you just have to, even despite the fact that that you have these people that are lying and saying that, oh, I didn't know. There are instances where if you investigate it enough, you can tie the use of child labor to these companies, and Reuters has been able to do that with the Hyundai Motor Manufacturing company. And so, and even if you say if you didn't know about it, I think this law says, well, you should know about it, and we'll take your incentives.
I agree with this. You've got to make
it.
penalties that if they do this, you have to stop, and you have to do that. And I agree with that. So I think that's important. All right, we got to take a quick time out here, Jacob. Thank you very much for being here. Jacob Morrison, Valley Labor Report. You can check him out. He's on a lot of radio stations all over the place. So thank you very much to him for being here.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.